join me in the Tamale Teaching Hospital as they conduct various free screening exercises around the Tamale. On October 8th, we'll be marching through the principal streets of Tamale. We'll be answering your questions, dispelling the myths associated with breast cancer. We'll be showing you people like myself who have lived beyond breast cancer. So please join me on October 8th at 7:30 at the Tamale Teaching Hospital to walk through the principal streets of Tamale, to educate people about breast cancer, to create awareness about breast cancer, to dispel the myths about breast cancer, and above all, to celebrate living a life beyond breast cancer.
We are happy to have in our midst a survivor of breast cancer, Nana Ichan, Isabella Nana Ichan. So I welcome her to have a chat with us, and then we can take our screening to the next after she's done. So Nana, you're welcome. Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing. So,
I worked as a nurse in the US, 12 hours a shift, 3 days, 4 days a week. I was always on the go. So I didn't think so it would happen to me. What I did know and what helped me was awareness. Being in an environment where you knew that at 40, you had to start getting screened. I didn't know about certain breast exam. I didn't do it. I was like, oh, we all have lumps. I have lumps. I don't know which lumps. So I didn't do that. What I did do was after 40, I started to get screened. I started to do my mammogram on a regular basis, on a yearly basis. And maybe around maybe 44, they told me my tissues were dense, meaning that it's thick. The mammogram, I don't know if you're familiar with mammograms, and if you're not, please ask questions. You can interrupt me at any point if you need to clarify something. So when they do the mammogram, they couldn't see through it because it was too thick. So they advised that instead of every year, I should do it every 6 months. But in addition to, at the time, now they have 3D mammograms, so they're able to catch clearer images. But at the time, it was just a regular mammogram. So they recommended that I do mammogram and an ultrasound every 6 months. And I remember when that recommendation came, that when the 6 months was up, I was in Ghana. At the time, I was back and forth. So I came with my film, my last mammogram film, and I took it to there's a diagnostic center in East Legon.
Diagnostic center, that's it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, diagnostic center. So then the gentleman looked at the date, oh, you just had a mammogram 6 months ago, why are you here? And I'm saying, because I've been advised, so the Americans overtreat. That I remember clearly, that's what he said to me, and I'm saying, this is what I've been advised. I'm going to meet I brought myself, so please do my mammogram. And they did it, and it was significant because June 2014, did my ultrasound, did my mammogram, everything was clear. December 2014, and I was going to the same place, so they could always compare the previous ones. Into December 2014, I went. Nothing was going to happen. I came, had me a wonderful time, went back. There was a notice, come for follow-up. Breast cancer, and then didn't mind them. Second one came again, then few. Then the third one came, and in America, they will sue me in a minute. As a nurse, every day I go to work, I pray. Because if you make the slightest mistake, not like here, that's your license. That's your mortgage payment. That's your car note. You're very conscious of what you're doing. So when they said the final notice, I was like, hey, these people said they're trying to get themselves out of something. So let me just go. I went. Oh, we noticed a few changes from the last time you came. We're sure it's not this, but just come for repeat mammogram. Did the repeat ultrasound. Oh, we still notices. We recommended that you do a biopsy. Now I did it in December, so we're talking around March at this point. I was going to France. I said, oh, moon train. When I go to Paris and come back. So I remember I went to Paris with a friend, and she was at the time we were both pushing 50. In mid-40s, so we're standing in the mirror naked looking at our breasts, and I'm like, oh, I've had 2 kids, my breasts are starting to sag. I researched it already, it's going to cost me $15,000 to redo my breasts. I'm going to do it. I will make sure my husband at the time will pay for it. So that was the conversation we had with myself. He said, be careful what you wish for. I go back. have to do a biopsy. Still grand. No problem, I'm going to do the biopsy. So April 1st, phone call came. You have breast cancer, you have DCIs. What is that? It was a Wednesday. I'm going to work. And the call came in, my mother was right next to me. How do you break down in front of grown women like myself? I'm 45. I'm not going to cry in front of her. What is this DCIs? Let me go and find out. So the whole night I'm on the phone. At work, I'm on the computer just researching. And I worked in New York, an hour outside of New York City. And everybody knew the best hospitals were in the city. New York Presbyterian, Memorial Sloan Kettering, all the best research, cancer, oncology hospitals somewhere in the city. I'm thinking, how do I get there? Because it's like here, somebody has to refer you. I don't know anyone. Who do I even know? Because no doctor, be a doctor, like I say. So my co-worker, concerned co-worker, share me the whole night. Do I want to share my story? Do I want to tell this one of the business? Am I ready to share everything? But the way I'm going to share, I realize that, you know what, if I don't tell her, next thing you know, as soon as the work is over, she'll be in front with my nurse manager to complain. I'm still debating. So finally, she said to me, "Oh, so are you in school?" And so I just said, "Oh, shy." For me, she wasn't coming. So I'm not in school. I've been diagnosed with DCIs. I'm looking to see how I can find a doctor in Memorial Sloan Kettering. I see, you don't need to go there. We have the best oncologist surgeon in this hospital. I've seen how she is with the patient. She's amazing. I have to go to her. I said, "I don't know her. I don't have her. I have to go get a referral." She said, "Even if they are who you know work." She said, "Wear your scrubs. Right after work, go down, you'll get an appointment." So I went down after work. The office was like, I think it was the where I had my biopsy done. And I went to say, "Oh, I'm looking for Dr. Carson." And there was a lady there. So, "Oh, she's my doctor. She's amazing. I've been following her. I drove 2 hours from Queens. She's just amazing." I'm like, who's this woman? Yeah, meanwhile, her pictures plastered all in the elevator for work. But because it wasn't going to happen to me, no. My main share with this story in the crowd that cancer and me are not in the same vocabulary. Fast forward, they showed me where her hospital is. I get there, there's a woman standing, 2 ladies. One in the leopard print, so a leggings. So I opened the door and it was locked. So the one in the leopard print was like, "Oh, come back at 9. They'll be back at 9. I'm like, "Yeah, it might be like 12 hours. Now the magnitude of what I've been diagnosed with is starting to hit me. I mean, start training for 9 o'clock. So I think I started to walk away. She must have seen the look on my face. So then she was like, "Oh, how can I help?" So I came to make an appointment with Dr. Carson. And then she said, "I'm Dr. Carson. How can I help you?" And I said, "I've just been diagnosed with DCIs." And before I could get the words out, I started to cry. And one night, everything hit me. And she embraced me. So hence the name of my She embraced me. She said, "You're gonna be okay." This is Thursday. I worked in Good Samaritan Hospital. It's a Catholic hospital. So the next day, Good Friday, it was supposed to be closed. I said, "Don't worry, come. I'll open the office for you." And I believe in things happening for a reason. Let me go back to when I had to get my biopsy done. They gave me 2 options of hospitals to get the biopsy done. One was the one that I worked in because it was closed, and another one. So I was like, do I want to go and do biopsy in the place that I work? What if my co-workers have access to my medical information? Or even though it's supposed to be HIPAA is like privacy and all that, but I'm still thinking. The final straw was like, oh, I can schedule it on the same day that I'm working. So I can do the biopsy and go to work at the same time. And that's how I ended up doing the biopsy in my hospital. Meanwhile, my doctor eventually is coming from the same hospital. Also, I came back the next morning. She'd gone to the lab, gotten the biopsy result, and me too, I've done my homework. What is DCIS? What the treatments? What is this? What is that? It's early form. Chances are not going to fail. Okay, but it's still cancer. Stage 0, but it's still cancer. Finally, she came in and everything I read is exactly what this woman told me. But then what she said to me that I didn't know was that even though it's early yet, DCIS is, okay, so cancer is just your body cells changing, right? Imagine the milk ducts in your breast, the ducts that the milk flows through when the baby's feeding. So my cell changes were in the ducts. Ductus carcinoma in situ means that where it started in the ducts, from what they could tell, it hasn't gone outside. If it had gone outside, then it starts to become invasive. And the further away it gets from where it started is how they stage it. So stage 1, invasive is it started, is right there. So within the 6 months it started, is there. Then stage 1, stage 2. By the time you get to stage 3, it's out of your breast tissue, it's in your lymph nodes. Stage 4 means that through the lymph nodes now, it's spread to other parts of your body. So breast cancer can start in your breast, but it can go in your brain. I've seen it. It can go in your lungs. I have seen it. It can go in your liver. My 37-year-old friend who died in 2021, well, hers was discovered, it was already in the liver. So even though it was early, the area that they could see on the mammogram was that it was large. So most times, if it's small enough, they can just take the lump away. So it's not that every breast cancer results in a mastectomy or they chop off your breast dead. If it's small enough, they can just take that lump out, give you radiation and possibly chemotherapy, and I'll explain some of the treatments later. But anyway, because mine was large, the option for me was to have a mastectomy, meaning that I could wait and see because it's still very early, it hasn't gone anywhere, but I'm like, wait and see for what committee and I said, it's just really if it means I have to have a mastectomy, I have to have a mastectomy. Not easy. I'm a woman. You're going to take off my breasts. And if we wait enough, oh, chances are it won't come back. You know, we can do one breast and then put you on medication, and then the side effects of the medication, a chain with the cancer that I had. So, breast cancer, there are two main types. You have ones that are receptive to hormones. It's like the hormones, the progesterone and the estrogen is what feeds the growth. And then you have some that are not receptive. That one is more aggressive, and that's what a lot of black women will get. And I'll come back to that again. I had the ones that were receptive to hormone. At the time I'm going through menopause, but at the time I hadn't. So they would have had to give me tamoxifen to suppress estrogen production, to suppress to prevent it from coming back with all the side effects. That means I had to take it from 6 to 10 years. But for some reason I have more feeling in this breast than I do in this one. From what I read and from what I was told, I didn't think I would get it, I would have any, but I still do. The one thing that's annoying for me is because this area is still, the nerves are not there. So like if it's itchy, I can feel like it's itchy. But when I scratch, I won't get any relief. And once in a while I have to walk around with a brush in my bag, you know, and I think that's the most annoying thing. And then the muscle, the tissue, because it's just fat. So right now, I don't have breast tissue in my breast. So I'm not at risk unless they missed some when they took the cancer. I don't even have to do mammograms, I don't have to do self-breast because I don't have breast tissue. My fat is just fat. Okay, so what happens sometimes now you're dim. It's a fat ada. So if it could get tight, and then I'll have to get somebody to come and massage it. So when they massage it, then it softens up. So I think that's the main, but it's an annoyance.
Low battery, please charge.
Considering what I could have gone through, so you know, but they say that you could not get it back, but most of my friends who have had it do get some sensation. It's still not, definitely not as, it's not like what it was, but it's nerves. I won't pay you to say that one. No, say this what they say, but please let my be different.
I mean, I still do.
And then you mentioned that from age 40, it's best to get the mammogram. So what about needles beneath 40?
It also goes back to familial history. We are in a society where, oh, what a shock. Oh, we don't talk about our illnesses. You know, you have family members going through breast cancer, nobody else in their family knows about it. It's very, very important. If you know that you've had a first-line family member get breast cancer, get ovarian cancer, get any of the reproductive uterine cancer, then you should start in your 30s. I mentioned that Black women, our breast cancer tends to be different. Genetically, we tend to get the ones I said we have triple negative breast cancer. The triple negative is not fueled by hormones. The Caucasian women, they get for the most part, they get the other kind. So when they do the research, they do it based on them because for research. We don't put ourselves forward. So the research is based on them. The drugs that come out mainly for them. So most of the drugs that are targeted to breast cancer are for the hormone receptor cancers. So when you have a triple negative, which tends to represent later, is more aggressive. And then there are no targeted treatments for it. Like what's the medication for malaria that we're taking now? Coartem. Coartem, it treats malaria, right? But when you have a cold, there's no particular medication that treats a cold. So it's like, paracetamol, my nose is stuffy. So that's what happens with that triple negative breast cancer. So know your familial history and know your own body so that if something is happening, you catch it early and you investigate it early. So if you have it in your family, you don't wait. Like right now, even in the US, they say start your mammogram at 50. When that recommendation came, my doctor was like, no, she's not telling any of the patients to start at 50 because I was diagnosed at 45. I know so many people, my friend was diagnosed at 27. Her husband found Ghanaian men are quick to ask about sucking on the breast and feeling on the breast, and that's all they care about. Suck on your breast, but also know your woman's breast because her husband found it. So the key is you have to take control of your body. Know your body. Yeah, the statistics are there, is a guide for you to follow, but know that there are exceptions to every rule. But as much as there is exceptions to every rule, we've been told we are also dating at in Tienda and being said to send me when I said I wasn't going to get breast cancer. Somebody came to sell health insurance at my workplace. I bought the accident insurance because I was like, oh, down and go back car accidents. I paid for that. When they started talking about breast cancer in general, I walked away because it wasn't going to happen to me. The payout would have been $100,000 if I had signed up for SAR. Small premium I would have had to pay. But because I didn't think it would happen to me, I lost out on $100,000. How many of us are in the room? Up until last Monday, I thought say 1 in 5. That means you may never be. But what about the few of us that are here? Just take control of yourself. Read the statistics, okay, but educate yourself and make the decisions that are right for you.
And how do we get mammograms?
The mammograms, definitely, I know, said the Akai, Eurocare, I know they would do that. I think they have a promotion this week. Yahoo, Kolegu, all those, they're not cheap.
Yeah, so Supreme.
It's insurance.
Supreme.
Yeah.
It's around the radio road area.
Okay. So there are a lot of places. Like I said, that diagnostic place in MDS Life Center, a side of it. So that whole complex has different diagnostics in there. So within there, it's really good to get the mammogram. But it's good, the mammogram for every year, if you have a familial history, But in addition, no, mammogram is recommended every year or every 6 months in my case. But breast cancer can be diagnosed every day. So in between the mammogram and then what? So don't do a mammogram in October because we are saying breast cancer, then you go to sleep till next October. But in between your mammogram, you're doing your cell health exam because as you know, 6 months is all it took for my changes. And if it wasn't for the recommendation for you to do the 6 months and came back the following year, that it would have been a different story.
Normally it's about the person who has it. What about the family? I mean, I think it has a toll on the family. So with Embrace, do you also get the chance to talk to the family how to support? Because I'm talking from experience. My uncle died of colon cancer, and it was very difficult for us to really understand the process. And at some point, we got tired. So I wanted to know, is there any talk or anything that can be done for the family so that they can find a way to actually also be there for the person who's going through it?
In relation to what she said, I would also add, especially when it comes to the breast, I mean for somebody who is married with kids, especially the husband, because one main support is if it's a nuclear family, it comes to the husband. If he doesn't understand the whole process, it becomes very, very difficult. If he's staying at home with him. So with the psychological care, is he like into it for him to know that, oh, this is it. So this is how we are going to go. Or let's go to the hospital. Then the one who go inside, your wife has breast cancer, so is that how it is? Because sometimes I really want to know if that care is there for them to know that, okay, so this is the condition and then this is how you are going to go about it. If the steps, they are involved in it so that they appreciate it, because I think they don't really know. It's just that you've gone to see a psychologist, so this is how things are going to go, and also, I don't know. I want to know, is breast cancer, that particular care, is it there?
It's not there. I'm not going to lie and say that in this environment is there. I mentioned we're trying to do support groups, and so Kolebu gathered a few survivors and trying to get the experience. I remember one saying to me, said, one thing that she wished had been told to her was, bring someone with you when you're diagnosed. And I remember when I was diagnosed, I was doing my research that night. That was the first thing I read, was like, when you go and see your doctor, bring somebody with you, because you're emotionally distraught. What they're going to tell you, cry, you won't take. So bring somebody, then don't go and bring somebody who's also going to be emotional. Find somebody trusted. So involving the family is key, because they'll be the one to prop up the person. The person's dealing with a lot. The family is also dealing with a lot. So part of what we are, and that's why I said that, and I was the one going to the hospital. Where was the family? So after I speaking with the guy, eventually they went and did the biopsy. She has breast cancer. I called him about 2 weeks ago. Has she started treatment? The family said no. Again. So now she orthodox treatment. So it's important for us to understand who are the decision makers within the family. In the north, almost says the imam. If the imam doesn't say yes, it ain't gonna happen. Yet we're like, oh, how? But in their community, so for us as healthcare professionals to understand who is the decision maker in that family, bring them in the mix. Sometimes it's their fear. The same myths that forces the women, they are also subjected to that same information. Sometimes it's the payment. How's she gonna pay for it? Just bringing them in, the understanding each person's unique position and putting in structures. If Kolebu can't do this, can Embrace do it? You know, if Embrace can't do it, what part of the experience can Cancer connect? So it's extremely important. It's devastating. My friend who passed away, I told you her last week, her daughter had nursed her, 23-year-old, by herself, no extended family was around. Her last week of life, I left her on a Saturday. She was speaking. When I came back on a Monday, she wasn't eating, she couldn't walk, she couldn't eat, she couldn't do anything. We took her to IMA during the COVID, was it 2021, and people were dying left, right, and center. They didn't have any bed. They showed me there's nothing we can do. I saw it, but I'm like, she's gonna go home and do what? What's she gonna do? What's her 23-year-old daughter going to do for her at this point? So how do we get ourselves as a nation, as individuals, as organizations coming together and putting up a structure, palliative care center, where families who can't physically care for people who are in their last days, how can we support them to give their best? My daughter, my friend, her daughter was she just wants to be stroking her mother's feet. This is COVID. I had to finally say, listen, can we get her a private room? The first thing the nurse said, hey, 500 cedis a night, maybe so. For us to be like we're talking about, the little things that mean. This man, we are catching Dr. Nache, all the spots that's on her liver, who's old. We asked how long, was you about 2 weeks. So for that 2 weeks, can we give her daughter the support? Can we care and feed the woman and let her daughter just hold her feet and just rub her feet? Can we do that? So there are people, we're getting it, but it ain't easy as women in this culture. It's difficult when a woman is a woman and she's married to now change her mindset, especially if she herself is not empowered in her strength as a woman. I think that through experiences, we have to support each other as women and say the sex is not just for him, that move is yours. It is yours, so you have to, just like anything in life, people treat yourself. You have to dictate how your body ought to be handled. But it's not something that just comes just like that. It's all part of our socialization. So what I would say to that woman is, first, understanding herself. I say this thing and I just love it so much. I think we don't know our strength. We're not educated and raised to know our strength. The man is ahead, fine, say it if you must. But if the neck doesn't move, what happens to the head? And who's the neck? Oh, sorry, one day, we'll see when your neck is locked. The days that we sleep, one day you will be on so now you're like this the whole time. Yeah. If we don't move, they cannot move. So we need to stop thinking that we're raised to feel like it's selfish. We're not a good woman, you're a good mother if you're not a good wife, if you don't take care of you. I think it's selfish if we don't take care of you. Because we're not right. Nobody else is right. So if he's squeezing your breast and the thing hurts, catch it and say, yeah. But if you're the type of man, the way you say, know your man. So I have the 3 villages now, the MP spoke about in Parliament. I mean, that's like my mantra now. I tell all the young women. When our mothers and our grandmothers were speaking to us, but think about it. Who are wiser? What is wise? Being strategic. We talk about it in business. Be strategic. If was a free hot, I won't me no food, that they talk about. How could you figure out? And the same way to get the same results, but in a way. Meanwhile, your wedding is about so that's what we need to start teaching our women. We need to start teaching. Use your open pill. You'll be judged as a woman. How can you use it to your advantage? I always say men, they think with their other heads. Sometimes when the oxygens that my friend, a male friend, was, I said, how come you guys can give up so much for what? When the oxygen starts, the nurses in the room, when you lack oxygen, you don't think clearly. Yeah. So when the oxygen rushes from this head and it goes to the other head, that's when that head starts to do the thinking. Until before you know it, now they get themselves into trouble. Many to bet it to too late. So let's be wise.
Very wise.
You can say the same thing. Use the opportunity to get to know my breast. You know what I'm saying? Get to know my breast, feel it. Make him think that he thought about it. But meanwhile, I did it. But when you talk, I just catch it to because how dare you? Because men are supposed to be like, I'm in charge, you know. How dare you tell me what to do? What? And then what baby so full said, catch it and say he doesn't know what he's doing. Until right away, also may take a position. What I say, then you are wise about it. Make him think he's in control. Meanwhile, but you're the neck and you're just moving. We're not going to be next thing you know, because I'm a lamp away. You know, when I went to the north on Monday, the Vomena came, and his wife had breast cancer. And I see when the woman felt the lump, I said, do you remember feeling this lump? And the man said no. So they also have a role to play. And like I said, they are also getting it. Men are also getting breast cancer. The gentleman who spoke, you know, it is not just about us, women. It is about our family, it's about our children. So yeah, let's be wise.
We are wise women, so let's be wise.
I would also like to add something small. As we are all women and mothers, in training our kids too, so that the next generation, the male child will also have a perception. The way you want your daughter to be treated by someone's son, you should equally raise up your son to also treat someone's daughter the same way. It's like we pay attention to the girl child, we leave the boy alone. And I'm not sure you'll be happy if your daughter is married and she's burdened with a whole lot of responsibilities. And your daughter-in-law comes in, and you also want, the mother will also be expecting something from your son. I think that if we come from that angle too, it's going to change the society as a whole.
You know, African Americans have a saying that black women love their sons and raise their daughters. We are bad, we so near. That money bad, your men cook kitchen. You know, we crawl ourselves, we love them and raise yet to tea a man. And I meant for the Monty, what she says is very true. Who raise, whether we like it or not, it's men. So we raise the men who then go and marry somebody's daughter and cause havoc in their lives. Because I don't know how you turned out this way, but you go down with it.
The physique, it has a short hair. I don't know if it is as a result of the medications that we go through, or it is naturally what yes.
Okay, so like I said, I didn't have to do chemo.
Okay.
I didn't have to do radiation.
Okay.
I had cut my hair before my cancer. When I had my son 25 years ago, that's when I cut my hair. So I just love short hair. My friend who passed, Abuna, so Abuna has shoulder length hair. When they cancelled and told her with chemo, her hair was going to start falling out. And I remember she was very sad. Abuna was very bubbly. So I used to call Abna Sunshine, right? So when her hair started to fall out, she asked my barber, and so I have the video. She started shaking, shaving off her head and everything. Fast forward, she finishes chemo and everything fell out. Just literally everything. So one day I picked her up for her review, and I noticed that her armpit hair had a full. I hear tin. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna want to way back the match. But I didn't say anything. But I'm thinking, hey, what will me way now? We get to Kolibu, Abner is coming out of the car and lifted inside. He started pulling on her hair. I was like, oh God, right? I was saying, Sadie, with me, need that. I said, me need that. When we catch him, he said, me TV, be to know. My nine Jane said, a befu. So this was her story. Imagine if I had opened my. Also, your man, she let her daughter cut it before she died, right? But this was her story. Another woman that in whole Patience, when Patience was diagnosed with breast cancer, her husband was a doctor. She's in a hospital environment. She was refusing treatment, and I just met her husband's friend a couple of weeks before, so he had her call me. And then I spoke to her, encouraged her, and then she went through her treatment. Last week we were in Hope. So the woman who encouraged me when I was diagnosed, Juliet Mills, Pink for Africa, she comes every October to do awareness. So she was doing an awareness thing in Hope, and I went with her. And so we're sitting there, we'll be saying, you can't your story. Juliet was the grandma, I'm the mother, and Patience. Patience's hair has grown, she has dreadlocks. It's down to here now. So chemo attacks, the thing with chemo, because it's IV, it just attacks everywhere. Any cancer and any which is not cancer. Until now, when you're going through chemo, it can have a devastating effect on people's bodies, right? So, but everybody I know who has gone through chemo successfully, their hair has grown back. So if somebody has short hair, maybe they're still going through chemo, they haven't finished yet, but it does, and it tends to even grow back thicker for the people who've gone through it and their hair's grown back. So no, my hair is just because we're lazy. Yeah.
I think you mentioned something, stress, right? You said stress causes a lot of, personally, I say that women go through different types of stress, but I've not researched into this, but I think the emotional bit of stress, when you are emotionally disturbed, I don't know, I have felt it before. So some time back when I was going through some serious emotional issues, my breast, I feel this, it's like some touches, like some tingling feeling. So I'm like, I remember my dad used to say, sister, yeah, to us, don't be stressed, because the emotional stress to him is a #1 cause of breast cancer. Although it's very certain, people have not really come out to say that is what it is. So is it general stress, or you think what I'm thinking has some alignment?
I have read stress, there's research that shows that stress contributes to breast cancer. Now what they don't know is if the stress causes it or it just exacerbates it. But the thing is, stress makes everything worse. Stress is a chemical reaction. When your body's under stress, it just makes everything worse, no matter what it is that you're going through. And to me, I have decided, and when I say to people, they're like, oh, you're just talking. But it's working for me. First of all, I don't do stress.
How don't you do stress? Tell us.
In the past, I would have said, oh my God, this is so stressful. I look at it as a challenge. I feel like what they say, what doesn't break you will make you. I have survived 12-hour surgery. I came out of surgery, I couldn't even feel myself. Sometimes the pain was so bad, right? I remember, I think after surgery, one of the toughest moments, they set up a tray for me to eat. And I knocked down the tray and I started to bawl. I started to cry. Because it's that sense of helplessness. So when I'm going through something, You know, serenity prayer. If it's something that, look, let me know what the difference is. If it's something that I can do about it, God, please give me the strength, the wisdom, the discernment to do. But the choice, I choose not to. So by me looking at nothing, because when it says stress right away, it's like heavy BB. But when I think of it as a challenge, I feel more in control. Then I can come and then it's a challenge to me. Okay, so you beat breast cancer, you did this 12 hours, you got up the day after your surgery, you made it, you went through labor with no medication, you survived it, you've gone through, issues with marriage, you've done this, you've survived it. Let this be another of those challenges. So the way, it's just how I look at it. I've always been one of those, the positive. The cup has always for me been half full, as opposed to half empty. And focusing on my blessings, really just puts things into perspective. I don't do negative. I've come to my life, I'm 54. I've lived more than I have left on this earth.
Who tells you that? Who tells you that? I saw an old woman, 108.
Wow, and they all tell you.
108. In fact, the power of our tongue. The power of our tongue. I equally don't have the worst place in my tongue. Anything that I think is poisonous to me, I don't confess it. You see, and so you see, I mean, that has been my outlook in life. I don't know of anything that can break you. It's just the grace of God, yes. But I mean, I've lost my father, I've lost my mother, I've lost my husband, I've lost my
what else?
What else?
Yeah.
And it's not that because I've gone through this, that's why I think I'm strong or fortified. But I have this outlook in life that the one who is in control will not let anything evil come my way. So even what is seemingly evil to me is not evil. I don't take it like that.
And just to back up, when I reflect on my life, everything negative that I've said over my life has come to
It's all.
Everything has come
And so
to pass.
anything good you said.
May have tingling sensation and tenderness. We don't want you to do it during that time, which you may be mistaking it for a problem which is not there. So after that day, then you can do it yourself. You can do it whilst lying down, or you stand in front of the mirror. When you are examining, if you are doing the left breast, your left palm should be behind your head this way. Then you can use the right to do the examination. You can do the circular motion or from side to side with the inside part of your palm, not the tip of the fingers. You make sure you do it in such a way that you don't miss any of the areas. Then if you are examining the right behind your back, then you can use the left to examine. After you finish with your examination, your hands to your waist, you look straight in the mirror, you check the symmetry of the breast. That's how the breasts are being positioned. Naturally, every woman, one breast is slightly bigger than the other. But when you look in the mirror and there's any obvious change, there's any scarring, like there's any sore, there's any dimpling of the nipple.
Money goes, I know everything.